Welcome to today's deep dive. I am so glad you decided to join us for this one, because we are looking at a situation that feels like it was pulled straight out of a near-future cyberpunk novel,
It really does, yeah.
but is actually happening right now on the screen sitting in front of us. Today we are exploring a truly fascinating intersection between your everyday web browsing habits and the absolute bleeding edge of artificial intelligence.
It's a perfect storm of convenience colliding directly with vulnerability. We are essentially looking at what happens when the incredibly powerful tools we rely on to make our digital lives easier get hijacked
Right.
and turned against the very security models we've trusted for decades.
For a little context on where we are sitting, today's date is March 2, 2026, and the single source guiding our deep dive today is a highly detailed, just fantastic piece of reporting from the Hacker News. It was written by Ravi Lakshmanan, and the title lays it all out on the table. It's called New Chrome Vulnerability. Let malicious extensions escalate privileges via Gemini panel.
It is a phenomenal piece of journalism because it doesn't just report a bug. It highlights a fundamental shift in how the cybersecurity industry needs to think about software architecture moving forward.
Which brings us to our mission for you today. We want you to walk away from this deep dive with a clear understanding of a newly disclosed vulnerability in Google Chrome. Now, full disclosure right up front so you do not panic. Thankfully, this specific flaw has been patched.
Yes, very important context.
But before it was fixed, it essentially allowed a bad actor to completely weaponize an AI assistant against the user. We are going to break down the mechanics of how that attack worked, and more importantly, we want to explore what this means for the future of what the industry is calling agentic web browsers.
That concept of the agentic browser is the crucial takeaway here. I want to set the stage by emphasizing that what we are discussing is not your standard, a run-of-the-mill software glitch.
No, not at all.
We see minor bugs patched in browsers every single week, but this is a prime example of what happens when we try to bolt highly privileged autonomous AI agents onto traditional browser security models. The classic security architecture was built for passive web pages,
Right.
and it is actively struggling to keep up with proactive AI.
Okay, let's unpack this. To really understand how a simple browser extension can turn into a system-level threat, we need to start with the hard facts.
Let's do it.
This vulnerability is officially tracked in the cybersecurity databases as CDE-2026-0628. For those who follow the metrics, it carries a CVSS score of 8.8.
Which is massive.
Exactly. To put that into perspective, the scale only goes up to 10. So an 8.8 is considered a severe rating. It indicates a flaw that is highly exploitable and highly dangerous.
And 8.8 is the kind of score that makes enterprise security teams drop whatever else they are working on. It demands immediate triage.
The flaw was originally discovered by a security researcher named Gal Weisman, who is part of Palo Alto Networks Unit 42. He reported his findings to Google on November 23, 2025, and as we mentioned, Google moved quickly. They patched it in early January 2026.
Right.
For anyone wanting the exact version specifics, the patch rolled out in Chrome versions 143.0.7499.192 and .193 for Windows and Mac, and version .192 for Linux.
The timeline is worth noting there. Wiseman reports it in late November, and we see a patch deployed globally by early January. That is a very fast turnaround for a major structural browser update.
It really is.
Which speaks volumes about how seriously Google took that 8.8 severity rating. But to grasp why it was considered so critical, we need to look under the hood at the underlying technical mechanism. The core issue is described in the report as insufficient policy enforcement in the WebView tag.
I want to pause on that because insufficient policy enforcement in the WebView tag sounds like a dense manual.
It does sound a bit dry.
Let's translate that for you, the listener. A WebView tag is essentially a mini browser embedded inside your main browser window. Developers use it to display web content inside a specific component or panel without opening a whole new tab.
Exactly.
But the policy enforcing the security around that mini browser wasn't strict enough. And that connects to an API in Chrome called declarative net request. Let me use an analogy to make this visual.
Go for it.
You can think of this API like a traffic cop standing at a really busy intersection inside your browser. Normally, this traffic cop is put there by things like your favorite ad blocking extension. The ad blocker gives the traffic cop a list and says, hey, if you see a data request trying to load a banner ad or a tracking script, stop that car. Do not let it through. It intercepts and manages web requests.
It is a great way to picture the mechanism. The Declarative Net Request API was designed to be a helpful, privacy-preserving tool. It is the engine that allows you to browse the web without being overwhelmed by pop-ups and trackers.
Right.
And it operates based on a defined set of permissions that you, the user, explicitly grant when you click install on an extension in the web store.
But the vulnerability allows an attacker to completely flip the script. Instead of a helpful ad blocker managing traffic, a malicious extension with only basic permissions abused this traffic cop API to bypass the normal security checkpoints.
The execution of this attack relies on a very classic first step: social engineering.
They have to get you to click.
Exactly. The attacker still has to convince you to install their extension. So they build something that looks entirely harmless. Maybe it is marketed as a simple color picker tool for web designers.
Or a lightweight calculator.
Or daily horoscope reader, right. You look at it, you see it only asks for basic permissions to read web page data, and you install it thinking it is benign.
And because the permissions seem so low stakes, you don't think twice. But once it's inside the browser, the trap springs.
Once inside, the malicious extension takes control of that declarative net request API.
Graphic.
Right, the traffic cop, and starts injecting malicious JavaScript or HTML. Now, typically, modern browsers are very good at keeping extensions siloed.
Usually, yeah.
But because of that insufficient policy enforcement in the WebView tag we discussed, the extension isn't just injecting scripts into a random website, it is able to inject them directly into a highly privileged internal browser page.
Wow.
It essentially counterfeits a VIP security badge, bypasses the bouncers, and walks right into the central control room of your browser.
Here's where it gets really interesting, because the VIP area we were talking about isn't just a basic settings menu. We have to bring the Gemini factor into this equation.
Yes, the AI component.
As a quick refresher, back in September 2025, Google made a massive structural change to how we browse. They integrated the Gemini Live panel directly into Chrome. It's that dynamic AI icon located right at the top of your browser window, ready to assist you at any moment.
What's fascinating here is the underlying structural tension that this kind of AI integration creates. Think deeply about what an agentic AI like Gemini is actually being asked to do on your behalf.
It's doing a lot.
To be genuinely useful, it has to be able to read and summarize the entire contents of a long article you are looking at. It has to be able to translate foreign languages on the fly across different tabs. It might even need to execute automated tasks.
Like pulling data from an email and dropping it into a spreadsheet.
Exactly. To do all of those complex multi-step operations, the AI agent inherently requires deep, highly privileged access to your entire browsing environment. It needs to see everything rendered on your screen.
Let me play devil's advocate here for a second. If Gemini needs that much access to function, why can't Google just heavily silo it off from the rest of the extension architecture completely? Why let extensions even see the AI panel?
That is the million-dollar question in browser design right now. The problem is interoperability. If you completely isolate the AI, it can't interact with the web pages you want it to summarize or the other tools you use.
Ah, right. It needs a bridge.
It needs a bridge to the content.
Right.
But building that bridge inherently creates an attack surface. Let me quote the researcher, Gal Wiseman, directly from the Unit 42 report, because he nails the technical reality of this. He said, when the Gemini app is loaded within this new panel component, Chrome hooks it with access to powerful capabilities.
Chrome hooks it with powerful capabilities.
Yeah.
That is the linchpin. The Gemini panel is not just another website like Wikipedia loading in a standard tab. It is a baked-in native component of the browser itself.
And because our seemingly harmless color picker extension is using that traffic cop API to inject arbitrary code directly into the specific internal domain running the AI.
Which is gemini.google.com maps.
Yes, it is effectively hijacking those powerful system-level capabilities. The malware takes control of the VIP.
I want to break down what that actually means for you, the listener, because the real-world consequences of this kind of privilege escalation completely shift how we think about digital safety.
It's terrifying when you really look at it.
If an attacker successfully deployed this against you, they wouldn't just be annoying you with fake ads or redirecting your search engine. Because they hijacked the AI panel, which has deep system access, the attacker could secretly access your computer's web camera.
Yep.
They could activate your microphone to listen to your room without a single indicator light turning on. They could take silent, invisible screenshots of whatever tab you are currently looking at, which could be your bank account dashboard, your private medical records, or a confidential work document.
Anything on your screen.
They could even reach out and access your local computer files on your hard drive. And all of this would be happening completely in the background, without any pop-up ever asking for your consent.
It completely undermines the foundational premise of the browser security model. You're sitting at your desk, practicing good digital hygiene. You didn't click on a sketchy phishing link in an email. You didn't download an illegal software crack.
You just installed a calculator.
But simply because you installed a calculator extension, an attacker is looking through your webcam. This highlights a vital distinction that Unit 42 brought up in their analysis. They noted, this difference in what type of component loads the Gemini app is the line between by-design behavior and a security flaw.
That is a critical distinction to make. Let's pull that apart. The line between by-design behavior and a security flaw.
Right. An extension modifying a normal website is expected by design behavior. That is exactly how extensions function. They inject code to change a website's background to dark mode, or they overlay grammar suggestions on your email draft. We want them to do that.
Right. That's why we download them.
But an extension influencing a component that is baked right into the browser itself, a component equipped with system-level access like the Gemini panel, that crosses a massive red line. It moves from modifying a public web page to taking control of the local application running on your machine.
So what does this all mean? We know this specific vulnerability, CVE 2026-0628, has a patch. You update your browser, and you are safe from this exact color picker scenario.
Yes.
But looking at the research, it feels like the implications of this discovery are much, much bigger than just closing one loophole.
If we connect this to the bigger picture, we have to confront the reality of an exponentially expanded attack surface. Putting an AI side panel into a high-privilege context doesn't just create entirely new sci-fi problems. It actually resurrects classic browser security risks that the industry has spent the last 15 years trying to successfully mitigate.
Classic risks, like what specifically?
Well, according to Wiseman's findings, by placing this new agentic component in such a trusted zone, developers inadvertently open the door to vulnerabilities related to cross-site scripting, or XSS. And they also open the door to advanced privilege escalation and side-channel attacks.
Let's make sure we define those for anyone who might need a quick refresher. Cross-site scripting, or XSS, is essentially a technique where a bad actor sneaks their own malicious code onto a website that you already trust. The website itself is fine, but the attacker found a way to make it serve you something toxic. And side-channel attacks are even sneakier. That is when an attacker gathers data not by breaking the encryption directly, but by observing how the system physically operates, like measuring memory usage or the exact timing of a process to infer your secret data.
Spot on. These are old-school hacking techniques. But suddenly, they can be exploited all over again by less privileged websites or basic browser extensions, simply because the highly trusted AI panel acts as an unintentional bridge between the wild web and your secure local system.
That completely flips the script on what we thought was secure.
Yeah.
It is like spending a fortune putting a state-of-the-art biometric lock on the front door of your house, but accidentally leaving a basement window wide open that leads directly into the security control room.
That's a great way to put it.
And that brings us to the concept discussed in the source material called hidden prompts. Honestly, this feels like the ultimate double-edged sword of integrating AI so deeply into our daily workflow.
The hidden prompt issue is arguably the most insidious part of this emerging attack vector. We are all used to the idea of consciously typing a prompt into a chat box to ask an AI assistant a question. But AI agents like Gemini and Chrome are constantly scanning the environment. They can read prompts that are embedded invisibly within a web page's underlying code.
Right. Invisible instructions. So imagine this scenario as a listener. An attacker embeds a hidden prompt deep within the HTML of a malicious web page. It is written in text that is the exact same color as the background, or hidden in a meta tag you would never see.
You'd never know it was there.
You're tricked into visiting that page, maybe through a deceptive social media post. You open the page, and visually you don't see anything weird. It looks like a normal recipe blog. But your browser's AI assistant, which is designed to constantly analyze the pages you visit to be ready to help you, reads that hidden prompt.
And because the attacker has already used the extension vulnerability to hijack the AI's permissions, that hidden prompt is suddenly executed with the AI's high-level privileges. The prompt could instruct the AI assistant to perform actions that the browser's basic security protocols would normally block without hesitation.
Actions like what? Give me a concrete example.
Data exfiltration is a major one. The hidden prompt could silently tell the AI, take a screenshot of this user's screen right now and send the image file to this external server. Or it could lead to arbitrary code execution, where the AI is tricked into running malware directly on your local machine.
So the AI is doing the dirty work.
The AI essentially becomes an unwitting accomplice. It carries out the attacker's orders because it believes the hidden instructions are a valid part of the web page it is supposed to be analyzing and interacting with.
It is taking the AI's core mandate to be helpful and follow instructions and weaponizing it against the user. But from what the Hacker News article details, this isn't necessarily just a one-off event that ends when you leave the recipe blog.
No, it is not, and this is the persistence threat. It is, without a doubt, the most alarming detail from the entire Unit 42 disclosure. A carefully crafted, malicious web page could be designed to manipulate the AI agent into storing these dangerous instructions inside its active memory.
I want to focus on that. The AI has memory. It remembers the bad commands.
Exactly. Modern LLMs, these large language models powering the agents, utilize what is known as a context window. They are designed to hold onto context across a session so that if you ask a follow-up question 3 tabs later, the AI still knows what you're talking about.
Which is usually really helpful.
Right. But if it retains a malicious hidden prompt within that context window, the attack doesn't just happen once while you were on the bad website. It persists across entirely different browsing sessions.
That completely rewrites the rules of session security. We usually assume that closing a malicious tab kills the threat.
Yeah.
You hit the X and you are safe.
Not anymore.
But you are saying that you could visit the compromised blog, close the tab, open a completely safe and encrypted website like your bank portal, and the AI, still holding on to those malicious instructions in its memory, could execute the attack while you are looking at your finances. The threat literally follows you from page to page.
The AI becomes a carrier for the exploit. It waits until you navigate to a high-value target like your bank or your email, and then it executes the hidden command using its system-level privileges. It is an incredibly sophisticated way to maintain persistence without ever installing traditional malware on the hard drive.
That is staggering to think about. An attack that lies dormant in the AI's short-term memory and strikes when you are on your most sensitive pages.
It really puts into perspective how monumental this specific vulnerability was.
And why a CVSS score of 8.8 might even feel a little low when you consider the persistence angle. So to summarize where we are at with all of this for you today, yes, this specific Chrome vulnerability, CVE 2026-0628, was successfully patched by Google in January 2026. If your browser is up to date, you are protected from this exact declarative net request exploit.
Thankfully.
But as we've discussed, the discovery of this flaw represents a permanent structural shift in the cybersecurity landscape.
It is a bell that absolutely cannot be unrung. The integration of agentic AI into our daily tools is not slowing down. If anything, the race is accelerating. Every major browser is trying to build deeper, smarter integrations.
Which means you have to be more cautious than ever about your personal digital hygiene. This entire situation reiterates the absolute importance of being incredibly careful about which browser extensions you choose to install. Perhaps even an extension that seems perfectly harmless, asking for very basic, seemingly innocent permissions, can be the Trojan horse that compromises the most powerful tools inside your browser. Read the reviews, check the developer's history, and if you do not absolutely need the extension for your daily workflow, do not install it. Keep your browser environment as clean as possible.
This raises an important question. As we demand our browsers do more and more autonomous thinking for us, summarizing long financial reports, translating languages in real time, and taking actions on our behalf across the web, we have to confront a difficult trade-off regarding the fundamental security principle of keeping web pages strictly isolated from our local hardware.
Right, the old sandbox model.
Exactly. But beyond just the technical risk, there is a massive conceptual hurdle approaching.
Yeah.
If our browsers are now independent agents capable of making decisions and holding memories, who is legally responsible when an AI reads a hidden prompt and executes malware? Is it the user who installed the extension? Is it the browser developer who provided the AI? Or does liability somehow fall on the AI itself?
That's a fascinating legal gray area.
As the era of the safe sandbox disappears, our legal definitions of intent, action, and digital liability might have to be completely rewritten.
That is a heavy, essential thought to mull over as you go about your browsing today. The tools we are using are getting remarkably smarter, but the risks are getting exponentially deeper and vastly more complex. Thank you so much for joining us on this deep dive. We hope this breakdown gives you a much clearer understanding of the invisible battles happening inside the code of your browser. Keep learning, stay curious, and always question the technology you interact with every single day. We will catch you next time.